It's movie night, and we're back with another review, and this one is the long-anticipated film, Avengers Infinity War. This is a film I've been waiting for since they first debuted Thanos in the original Avengers film, which I believe came out in 2012. And he's been teased over the last 5 or 6 years, and some of the movies that they've had featured, but this is the first time we get to see Thanos in the film. And I'm going to break it down, talking about the story first, then we'll talk about the characters. We're going to talk about Thanos in a separate section because even though he's one of the characters, he's obviously a very big part of this film. And then we'll talk about the ending, which has gotten a lot of people hyped for this movie going forward for the next movie after this one, and wondering where that's going to go. And we'll hit that then. Obviously, this is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen Infinity War, go see it. You do not want to be spoiled. This movie is, from the time it opens to the time it ends, it is filled with spoilers. Even if somebody told you some of the things that were going to happen in this movie, you probably wouldn't even believe it because there are some very, very strange things that happen in this film. There's some moments in this film where you cannot believe it's happening, and you're wondering how this is going to go down. But I'll tell you some things in here about my opinion about how they got away with some of the things that they did. And I think a lot of people have hinted to it. So let's get right into the story. Obviously, with a cast this big where you have 750,000 characters in it, it seems like, you knew that the story was going to have to be pretty much straightforward, and you wouldn't have a lot of time for individual storylines and character arcs. All the arcs for these characters have built up to this point, so pretty much there's nowhere to go with a lot of characters in this film other than just dealing with the threat at hand. And unfortunately, because there's so many characters, you don't get a lot of screen times with a lot of the characters. So there's a few characters that you like in particular, if somebody likes Black Widow, you're only going to get so much of Black Widow in this movie. You're only going to get so much Black Panther. You're only going to get so much Iron Man. However, they all have their moments and they're all memorable. And that's one of the things I liked about this film, was that even though there was a lot of characters in this film, the story didn't feel jarring. It didn't feel like every time you went to a new location, and there are a lot of locations in this movie. They go to a lot of different places. The people spread out literally all over the universe. And you would think that would be hard to keep up with, and it really wasn't. You knew every time they cut back to some characters, pacing-wise, they didn't let certain plot lines go away long enough where you almost forgot what they were doing. They were brought back at very key moments. Everything was very well pieced together in this movie. The editing is brilliant. The sound design in this movie is by far the best they've had in this whole MCU. The sound design is amazing. But again, the plot is pretty much straightforward. I mean, you have guys going looking for Infinity Stones. That's the plot. To finally get all 6 of the Infinity Stones to Thanos in his Infinity Gauntlet. Now, let's hit some of the characters here. And I was shocked at how much the Guardians of the Galaxy were featured in this film. Now, I knew that they were going to obviously have a big, huge part to play in it because they possess one of the Infinity Stones. So the Stone of Power, which is the purple one. So you knew that they were going to be involved with it because they were involved with one of the more powerful stones that Thanos wanted to obtain. But also, Gamora is obviously Thanos' daughter. So you knew that something was going to go down with these two. Gamora, Nebula, which is the other sister, which is the sister of Gamora, and Thanos. You knew there was going to be some moments in there. They showed in the trailer the flashback of Gamora as a child walking with Thanos. So you knew that storyline was going to go somewhere. And boy, did it pay off. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, which just may be my favorite scene in the movie, is when Thanos is asked, when he goes to get the Orange Stone, he's asked to sacrifice someone. The Soul Stone is what they call it. You have to sacrifice somebody's soul to get the Soul Stone. And the only way you do it, you have to sacrifice somebody you love. And you have that moment where, for just a moment, Gamora looks at Thanos as someone who has failed because she doesn't think he loves anybody. And he turns around and he has tears streaming from his eyes. And he tells her, to a certain extent, just literally with his face. We'll get to Thanos in a second, how well he was done. But just with his facial expression, you could tell he loves her. And she recognizes it, and just like a tragedy from an opera or a stage play, something to that level. I mean, he tosses her off, and you can see the pain in his eyes when he's dragging her to that cliff. And that's the kind of stuff we were not expecting seeing in this film. At least I wasn't. I knew Thanos. Let's just go ahead and get to him real quick. I knew Thanos was going to be good. Obviously, you don't tease somebody that long and then have him not pay off. That was a huge gamble to have this MCU build to this moment and then have Thanos not pay off. So you knew he was going to pay off. But he is the heart and soul of this movie, and he's a villain. He is by far the best Marvel villain they've had in this MCU. And up to this point, it was Killmonger. So we've had two, if you want to go back even further than that, Hela and Thor Ragnarok, we've had three really, really good villains, complex villains in these films, and we need to appreciate that because obviously Marvel is not known for their very good villains. They just don't have a lot of them. So it was nice to see Thanos finally perform, and he does perform. His CGI on this guy, Josh Brolin, nails this character. I love how they paced him. He was never in a hurry with anything. They sat on shots with him. He was photorealistic. You could see the hairs on his arms. You could see the stubble on his face. He was a well-rounded character. Those eyes. You could look into his eyes and tell every bit of information you need to know about Thanos. This mad titan who can pretty much do whatever he wants. And as he's collecting these Infinity Stones, it was awesome to actually see him grow in strength, but also get, in a way, torn as a being. He's getting these stones, but it is costing him. There isn't even a line in the movie, what did it cost you to get these stones? And he even says, it has cost me everything. It's cost him his daughter, his planet, his homeworld. He's killing trillions of people. And he's doing it because he thinks he's right. And that's what makes any villain really, really good, in my opinion. What I love about any complex villain is that they truly believe they're right, and you kind of see their point of view. He destroys a planet, and he says, well, they were in poverty before I did it. I reduced their population, and now it's a paradise. Now they're not starving. There's plenty of food to go around from everyone. He sees that as he's helping people. He does not think he's doing anything wrong. Now, he knows the means by what he's going to do it is very ruthless and brutal. But to Thanos, which is why he's such a great character, you can see why he's doing it. If you put yourself in his point of view, you understand these decisions that he's making. And he makes some really tough decisions for a villain. He really, really makes some tough decisions. There's another good villain out there, Vulture, from Spider-Man. So there's another one. They've really been landing home with some of these really good villains who you can identify with and understand their point of view. Killmonger is another one. You obviously know and identify where he's coming from. And Thanos was probably one of the most human characters out of the whole cast. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy in this movie. I thought they, in a way, along with Thor, all the space characters, in my opinion, kind of outshined the Earthbound characters like our Avengers. The Guardians of the Galaxy with Thor is a perfect match. Rocket and Thor, I love those characters. I'm loving Thor as a character more and more with each one of these films. And he is amazing in this film. I love what they're doing with him. The death of Loki early, I think, was needed for him to sit there and watch that, because Thor has been going through a lot. If you go through Thor Ragnarok, and his father's dying, his Asgard has been destroyed, Loki is just killed, and you see him in his movie, you can feel that weight of him. He has literally nothing, and he just sees all this death, and you wonder, how does Thor keep going on? But he does. And I thought his story arc was very, very well put together. I love Guardians of the Galaxy again on their own, but in this movie, they seem to fit better than I thought they would fit. I had a little trepidation about them going into this film because you already have all the Avengers. How do you work in Guardians of the Galaxy? And they do it without you even thinking anything about it. They fit so well into this storyline. Again, you don't get any character arcs, but you already know what you need to know. And that's what Marvel is so good at with these Marvel Cinematic Universe films. You already know what you need to know getting into this film, so you're just able to enjoy the process of this film playing out. Now, let's get into a little bit more of the story going towards the end. I've heard a lot of people so far say that they don't like the ending of the movie. Now, we knew going in, back years ago, this movie was called Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. It was split into two halves, and we knew that this was going to probably end in a huge cliffhanger. I think what shocked people, and again, if you haven't seen this movie, what I'm about to tell you obviously need to go see this movie. So last one with the in my opinion, the biggest spoiler of the movie. You see a lot of characters die at the end of this movie in a way that's very, very eerie and strange. This movie ends like Empire Strikes Back ends, where you could not believe that the film had the balls to end the way that it did. And the last shot being Thanos having killed a lot of the heroes. Now, we don't know if they're actually dead or what's going on with them, because they just kind of break apart and fall away and just blow away in the wind, like almost as if they're turned into dust, just straight up ash and just blown away. It's amazing, but at the same time, there's certain characters that it doesn't happen to. It's happening to random characters, which leaves you scratching your head. And just like at the end of The Force Awakens, to do another Star Wars comparison, there are going to be a lot of speculation about what's going on with this ending of this film, because it was very eerie. I know it is a very strange ending, and it is very eerie and dark, but as an adult, I loved it. I loved it because we needed to see stuff like that. Everything is not happy ending time, and you have another movie promised. You can't just have a happy ending and then set up another movie with another villain. We all knew that Thanos wasn't going to die in this film. He's the ultimate threat right here, but they have announced they're going to do a phase 4, so you know that most of these characters are going to come back. So how's it going to happen? Now you can start talking about Doctor Strange's the green Infinity Stone, the Time Stone, where you can alter time. We'll see if that comes into play. But again, a film like this, you were going to have to... They were kind of playing with house money with this film, because you do have another film, and you can pretty much do whatever you want in this film, and that's exactly what they did, and I'm happy for that. It was a playground for superheroes to play on. There was a lot of emotion in it. You felt the weight of all the storylines. I think it was excellently done, and I don't do a lot of speculating about what's going on. I just take the movie in for what it was. For what it was, I knew it wasn't just going to be a fun thrill ride, but it was going to be an emotional roller coaster, because if you invested in some of these characters, my favorite character is Spider-Man. It was tough seeing him no matter what's going on. It was tough seeing his quote-unquote death scene in the film. But we know that these characters aren't dead. Because they're obviously, again, they announced a phase 4. So take it with a grain of salt. But it was, the Avengers got the shit kicked out of them. The good guys in this film, by the end of it, Thanos, which is another big thing, was Thanos going to get all 6 Infinity Stones in this film? And a lot of people thought that he didn't. In the trailer, you can see when he was attacking Captain America, that you can see he only had a couple. And obviously that was deception on their part in the trailer. It was a bit of misleading. He had all of them at that point. And it was nice to see that as well. I wanted to see Thanos get all 6. I didn't want it to get to the point where he's going to get the last one and they save the day by not getting him. By him not getting him. I wanted to see Thanos with the full gauntlet. And that's what we get. And it doesn't disappoint that level. I'm very happy it did in this film, and we didn't have to wait a whole nother film towards the end of that one for him to finally get the last 2. No, he gets all 6 in one film, and it's awesome how he collects them. Every single time he goes to get one, you just feel yourself like, man, he's getting one step closer. And there's so many times where you think he's not going to get them all, but he ends up getting them, and it's a great process. I love the way that they did that. There are some negatives in this film. We'll get into those. Again, way too many characters. You have so many characters that, there are moments that you get where you feel like it's a little disjointed, because you don't feel like all of the pieces are fitting together. But what you realize is that towards the end of the film, you look back on it, you're like, wow, it kind of did. They all were in the same screen at the same time. You got to see everybody fight. You got to see everybody do what they do. You got to see everybody shine. Each character had their moments. It's just, obviously, you're not going to get a lot of screen time with a lot of your characters. Another thing that was kind of strange to me was there's a lot of things that happen in the trailers that are not in this film, which is obviously another misleading thing that studios do, which was fine. But there was a lot of things that were clearly in the trailer that are not in this film, or altered so severely that I actually liked it better in the trailer than it was actually in the movie. There's some things that happen in the trailer that are in the movie that are altered to a certain degree, and I actually like the execution of it in the trailer better. So that's just me. That's nitpicking. There's not a lot to nitpick about this film. Again, if I had to say what was my biggest problem with the film, Marvel does have a tendency of always killing off characters and then bringing them back, and this was the ultimate of killing characters, and most of them are gonna come back. And so, in a way, again, that's Marvel. Not really, the stakes are there, but with a lot of the characters, there's a few where they die, like Loki. he's probably not coming back. Gamora is probably coming back because she's in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I believe they are going into Phase 4 with the Guardians. So there's some characters in there where you know they are going to be coming back. To a certain extent, you probably could bring back Vision, who died in the film. Who knows? But there are a lot of characters that were quote unquote dead in this film where you know they're going to be back. So that aspect of it is starting to grow old on me. It's like, if you're going to kill a character, kill him off and that's it. We don't want to see him again, because how many times can you bring back Loki? So hopefully this is Loki's end. I think it's a perfect ending for him. Who better to end Loki's life than Thanos, who initially sent him to start all the shit on Earth in the original Avengers movie in the first place. So it had a nice arc to it. And I didn't have a problem with that at all. So all in all, I give this movie 2 thumbs up. It's not a perfect film. In a way, I kind of like the first Avengers still a little bit better than this film. But I'm going to go see this a couple more times to soak it all in. Obviously, this is a much better, altogether well-rounded film than the original Avengers. But in the original Avengers, you do get better character development and a cleaner storyline with a bit of a happy ending. It's just a nice movie. There are some characters missing in Infinity War, just blatantly missing, that they don't even reference. Ant-Man and Hawkeye are not in this movie, and they don't even mention them, not one time. At least from what I heard. And again, I didn't see or hear anybody say anything about those 2 characters in this movie at all. So that's a bit of a head scratcher, because obviously they're Avengers. So there's some things in there that, again, there's some negatives to it. But overall, great experience. I'm happy I was able to see it opening weekend, because there are a lot of spoilers in here. And good luck to you if you think you can get through a whole week without getting spoiled with this film, because they're everywhere. And I basically had to turn off social media for 3 days so I could go into the movie free of spoilers. And there were still a couple of things I think was spoiled just from me reading small little glimpses of headlines here and there. So definitely want to go in spoiler free. Even some people don't give a shit. I'm one of those people where a movie like this, you definitely want to experience it spoiler free. Awesome film. I'm looking forward to the next and final Avengers film. It looks like it's set up well. A lot of questions to be answered. I'm a little apprehensive that it can be better than this film. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, I don't know what all they put so much into this film. I can't imagine what the next Avengers movie is going to look like. There's so much that was in this one. I just hope it's not a letdown, because this movie was put together extremely well. That'll do it for this one. I see you guys on the next one. Take care. Happy movie night.